Hello everyone, my name is ZeroTrex, and today we're taking a look at Daredevil, Born Again, the sequel to Netflix's Daredevil show. After a tragic incident in Matt Murdock's life, he gives up the mantle of Daredevil. Meanwhile, his enemy Fisk becomes mayor of New York. So, Born Again is interesting. It's an interesting show. It's kind of a soft reboot, yet a season 4 to the Netflix show. Now, let me be frank with you, alright? Let me tell you something. I didn't watch the Netflix show. I just didn't really have time for it. And I was kind of hoping that going into this show, it would be kind of isolated enough to where, like, if you watch the Netflix show, you will be rewarded, like, with character arcs, but telling its own story at the same time. And while it still did that, it did, I think, indeed do that. You definitely gotta watch that Netflix show first. It definitely is required viewing, so that's why I went back and finally watched that show. And you know, I'm not that far into it. I'm only like 7 episodes in, but it's great. Honestly, it's a great TV show. So yeah, you like if you watch the Netflix show, you'll have a bigger impact on more things. But I think there is enough here to entertain those who didn't watch the Netflix show, but also a lot where you will be lost if you didn't. Now, part of this is because of the show having reshoots. Originally, it was just supposed to be a total reboot of bringing Daredevil into the MCU, and let me address that real quick. So, Daredevil was kind of in the MCU, but kind of not. We weren't too sure if the Netflix shows, like the Defenderverse is what it's called, would be in the MCU or not, right? But and we were still asking questions on like whether or not they were because of Spider-Man: No Way Home and She-Hulk. But I think it was Echo that finally answered that. Yeah, Daredevil is canon to the MCU, and everything else is canonical to the MCU. And Born Again is like the official, we don't need to dance around it, MCU Daredevil. Which, because like, because of that, it makes the Netflix show officially canon to the MCU, but was it really made with that in mind? It's like they were kind of dancing around that idea, but now they don't need to. They can just mention things like that. So, yeah. So the show, because of this, the show had reshoots where they got on new people. Kevin Feige didn't like it. They got on new people to make it, and you could definitely see it. Did it save the show? Yeah, it definitely saved what would have been a mediocre show. You can tell because um there are some elements of this show that are here before the reshoots, and because of that, the show suffers quite a lot from it. Um, kind of rethinking back on it, there's a lot of issues, but there's also a lot of good things that helps from the reshoots. You know, Daredevil Born Again is not a bad show. It's just obvious that it had behind the scenes stuff, you know? Usually in cases like this, where a thing has extensive reshoots, like Captain America 4 last month, or a few months ago, that show had extensive, that movie had extensive reshoots, and because of that, that overall harmed the end product, and harmed a lot of things with it. That, however, here these reshoots were definitely for the better, but because of that, you still like it's very inconsistent with its quality because you get the good reshoot stuff that's genuinely really great and the best parts of the show, and like they are there for a majority of it, and then those kind of clash with the weak elements of why the show had to be reshot in the first place. So I believe episode 1 is completely new, or at least the opening for it was new. But episode 8 and 9 two of the best episodes in the series were reshoots. And that kind of gives me hope that season 2, with the new team, with the team that came in to do this, it will be much better. The show's good. The show is really good. I enjoyed my time with it. It's one of the best MCU shows out there. It's not Netflix level, but you can see that potential with it that, again, is being held back by the show that was underneath it. It maintains good storytelling, hits the beats for like what makes a good show, acting phenomenal. Visuals, I will address in a minute. I got some things about that. And the story can get pretty emotional at times. There are big punches. It's not slop. I see a lot of people calling this mindless slop, which I don't think that is. I don't really think anything is too mediocre. It's a downgrade from the Netflix show, though. But it's not it's not a bad show by any means. It's a weird place because on one hand, you could try to separate it. Like, I could see why you could try to separate this from the Netflix show, because it technically is its own show. Like, hey, I'm going to go into this and just sort of expect this to be a new thing, while it still continues the story off of the Netflix show. It's like, it's a season 4. It's like how Ahsoka was a continuation off of Rebels. And so you don't it's hard to do that. Let's talk about the great things. So every character from the every character from the Netflix show, Matt, Karen, Foggy, Punisher, Kingpin, Dex, Vanessa, all of those characters in this show are really fucking good. Matt has to deal with this tragic incident, and it's great. And another thing that I saw some reviews about was the lack of religion in the show, which just popped up in my mind right now, not even mentioned in the script. It's a bit jarring, yeah. There's moments where he does question his faith, or not question his faith. There's moments where he does have his Catholic side, because for those who don't know, being Catholic is a major part of Daredevil's character. It's kind of that ironic thing that a Catholic man dresses up like a devil at night, and it's like from Hell's Kitchen. It's just such a cool concept. Um, and like I love the arc here where he's just trying to be a lawyer. Going back to it, he's like a big lawyer now. Because where I'm at in the show, they literally live in this like little cubicle. You know, the Karen, Foggy, and Matt. Yeah, Charlie is the definitive Daredevil. You know, we had Ben Affleck, who, I mean, I can't really say much on, and we also found this out recently. There was a Daredevil in the Hulk series. Like, he never put on like the red suit. He had that like a starting suit, I believe. But that's weird. But there's a reason why Charlie Cox voices Daredevil in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, because you know he's great Daredevil. He is so good as this character, and there's multiple times where he shines. In episode 4, there's this scene where he talks to Frank. He confronts Frank about about the tragedy, and it's just great. And I also love what they did with Fisk here. Um, the politics in the MCU are so fucked right now. Red Hulk as president, Kingpin as mayor, and Winter Soldier as councilman. Like, come on. Either way, I really enjoy what they did with Fisk here, where it's kind of like he's trying to redeem himself, but he's really not. He is still the Kingpin. He's still that character. This brings me to one of my issues with this show, and it's that outside of Matt, Frank, kind of Frank, I'll talk about that. Outside of Matt and Fisk, a majority of the characters are sidelined. Or, well, Karen is definitely sidelined. She's like put on the back holder. And same with Frank. And the new side characters that they introduce are just weak. Matt's new lawyer buddies are just so like barren and empty. Cherry has like no depth, and it's like there's the conflict where Cherry doesn't want Matt to go back to being Daredevil, but it doesn't really have that same impact as like Foggy, you know. And again, I'm just saying that based off of what I know. Keep in mind, but the reason why I believe that would work compared to um, why Cherry doesn't work is because we don't know Cherry. We knew Foggy. We don't know Cherry. Matt's new girlfriend Heather is a therapist. I mean, like, she kind of disappears midway through the show. And again, it's a symptom of the pre-shoots. I mean, in episode 8, there's a lot more depth given to these characters. It's not like so much, but there's still a lot. It's done a lot better here because it's the reshoot stuff. And visually, this show is strange. So they do something new with its style, which I do appreciate. And it's focusing on a lot more colder, drier tones compared to the Netflix shows where it had warmer colors and much like heavier oranges, you know. Every shot of New York has like an orange reflection, orange lighting, and whatnot. And I do think that in concept this is a nice contrast, but the way that the blocking is, the filming, the lens. I mean, Lord forbid anyone's standing near a window here, right? When someone was standing in a window by the Netflix show, the way that the light would reflect and the way that the colors would shine looks so beautiful. Here it just drowns out the scene, you know. Whenever a scene is in the dark, it it just doesn't look as good because of color grading. And when the show does try to do something visually interesting, I think it works. I think that if they committed to that style or they w- put more time into that, I think that Born Again could have had a really unique visual style. But the issue here is that they just didn't, and it looks generic, you know? It doesn't look as good as the Netflix show. It's different, and I don't want to say it's bad, but underwhelming. It just seems so basic, and I think this is also an issue with the action a bit. The first fight scene was just so foggy. Um, but the first fight scene between Matt and Bullseye was just so really like it was just too foggy. It had bad lighting. There's a fight in episode 7 with like 7 cuts in it. But like there are some interesting ideas in episode 6 when Daredevil fights Muse for the first time. Muse is another character I will talk about. They cut it with Fisk fighting someone, like they intercut it because it's like it's Daredevil going back to his old ways and it's Fisk going back to his old ways. I think thematically that was really cool. And then in the next episode when he fights Muse, it's like punch cut to a different angle, punch cut to a different angle, spin cut to a different angle. It is the issue with any modern fight scene, and I hate it so much that Shang-Chi I think was really good with that. Where they just let the camera sit there and capture the action. Yeah. Again, the show wasn't really bad. It's more so. You can find a lot more complaints in it, such as the shafting of the Netflix characters. And this show, again, the show's in the MCU now, but they like with this being under Disney, they don't have the limitation of saying, "Oh yeah, the Jolly Green Giant," or "Oh, it's the guy who's the Shield." They could just mention characters, you know. There's a character, White Tiger, Hector Ayala, who has a mystical amulet around his neck, and no one really questions it. Like, hey, how's this medallion giving him powers? Because it's like, guys, y'all got snapped away for 5 years, and that's another thing. I think with this being officially in the MCU, it's really fun to imagine how these characters would have felt during big events like this because the ending of this show is really funny when you consider that in just a few weeks we are going to have a guy flying around turning people into black stains on the wall and on the floor. Fucking Sentry's gonna come in. It's even funnier to imagine that in just a few months, like a year from now, actually, Doctor Doom's gonna come in. Battle World is gonna happen. What the fuck is Daredevil gonna do? That's one of the coolest parts about Daredevil being in the MCU is that now you can picture him being in this giant cinematic universe, and that's where I think it works. Here, they mention a scroll, and there is a nice cameo in episode 5, and another cameo that I'll talk about in spoilers. And also, I'll get into episode 5 in a minute. It's just really cool to imagine, like, all the events of, like all the events that the MCU has gone through, and just these characters that we weren't really too sure on, like, how they were connected to the MCU, just how they would feel during it. Because it's like, giving that sort of New Yorker civilian kind of view that you think about. It's like, what does a citizen of New York think about all this carnage? And think about all of it going through. And that's where that's again a cool detail. So let's talk about episode 5. It's a filler episode or a bottle episode. And I liked it as an episode, but it does highlight one of my biggest issues with TV right now. This series is 9 episodes long, which I mean, is longer than most MCU shows. But I mean, we used to get like 13 episodes a season for the old Daredevil show, and we were supposed to get 18 episodes originally. And so the issue here with episode 5 is that when you don't connect it to the overall story, it begs the question of why even having it here. Because with this new format of shows now, it feels like you have to have every single episode focus on the story. Like, oh, because they shortened it down, they shortened the episodes, there's no time to dilly dally. And I really don't like that. It I think superhero shows are the perfect um superhero shows are the perfect like thing to do these sort of one-off like episodes, like Daredevil versus bank robbers or Daredevil versus Guy in Alley, just stuff like that. Because that's how comics are. And I get that comic books don't, like, not everything in comics are going to translate well into live action, which I think is something that we do need to accept, is that sometimes they're just not going to translate well. But I definitely think that having like episodic stuff like this could be cool. Bottle episodes are a neat idea, but because of the shorter week by week basis story, and to be fair, this one had 2 episodes drop, which one the next one did continue the story, so I understand. So they kind of understood there, but my issue is that they just don't really give it time, you know. And another thing that I wish the show did, kind of outside of that little tangent, more lawyer stuff, and again, a bit more focus on his religion. There are 2 major aspects of his character, and we got 2 episodes focusing on Daredevil, focus on a court case. Again, I think this is an issue from the 9 episode storytelling format because, like, you can only, because like this show I would best explain is like in mini arcs. You have the first episode, which sets everything up. 2 and 3 focuses on Hector Ayala. Episode 4 and 5 don't really have like a little arc. 6 and 7 are about Muse. 8 and 9 are about like Fisk and like stuff like that. But I wish that there was more lawyer stuff, like more court stuff, Which, again, I understand why, because that's not the focus of the show, but. And Frank is a character who sort of just there. He's great. He's a great addition to the show and the scenes that he's in, but because of his amount of screen time on it, it just. I think he's a character that was added from the overhaul. I mean, it's the relationship that you would expect from him, the fucking screaming at each other, arguing, the "I'll tell you what," and the "Come on, Red, I'll tell you what, Red, let me tell you something," and it's genuinely great stuff. And again, Fisk is a threatening villain. I think the villains are some of the best villains that the MCU have had. Bullseye is great. I'm glad that they're keeping Bullseye around, cause like, yeah, he's a menace. I love Bullseye. And also, let me talk about the suits real quick. So Bullseye got a new suit, which the issue here in season 1, at least, it's fixed in season 2. I'm playing with blue tech because I like fidgeting. Um, is logos. Bullseye doesn't have his logo on his forehead. Also, I don't know how to feel about the mask, because his mask usually you can see his mouth, and it's kind of like it's. I'm curious to see if they'll do it, but here it's just like a ski mask. I think they gave him the Bullseye logo in season 2, and Daredevil suit got a change where it's in the Netflix show. It was like very like armored and very like padding, and it it had like all these like black chunks around it, like red and black, which I do like how that looks kind of, because it looks like comic book shading. How they have him shaded. But I think that is another case where it's like, that's something you don't really need to adapt from the comics, because I mean, that's a comic thing to help define muscles and define like the character, kind of like how Venom sometimes has blue highlights, or Miguel having blue highlights originally, and then those eventually just overshadowed it and became the his blue suit. That's why his suit is blue, or like how Spider-Man's black suit had blue highlights. That's really just there to help differentiate the muscles and whatnot. Again, it's why Spider-Man has blue in his costume now, because he is the blue parts were black originally, and they had that blue shading. So, and that's a comic thing, because it would be kind of hard to tell with art, especially with like older art. I don't think they do it anymore. I don't think that's really something done anymore with newer comics. But I mean, you get what I'm saying, right? Because of like just how the colors were back then. So I definitely would have preferred if the Daredevil suit was just all red, and had the logo. But I definitely do like how they kind of close it up a bit. They have the red. They have the red and then the black lines and the yeah. They make it look a lot more cleaner, a lot brighter red. I definitely like the way the suit looks. It's just that someone pointed this out about the chest, the arm, the leg. Those are all reused details from Wolverine's suit, and those are details on Sentry's suit from that Hasbro leak. And it is fucking ridiculous. I wish that we can just get simple comic book suits that aren't over designed. And this isn't over designed, I'd say. Um, because again, it's kind of keeping it simple. I think it's just I don't know, because Daredevil's a character that I mean, Spider-Man has like super strength and super durability, so like it's not like they're gonna put like armor padding on him, whereas Daredevil doesn't really have that, so the armor makes more sense there. I mean, they talk about it in the show. All right, that's enough of that. Um, this is a really violent show. Um, there's a lot of swearing, there's a lot of gore, there's a lot of stuff like that, which is surprising for Disney, because we Deadpool and Wolverine had gore and swearing, but it was like really comedic and lighthearted. Not lighthearted, but it was like played up for comedic purposes and was really goofy, you know, like Johnny getting his skin ripped off. There is a kill in this. I mean, you probably know what I'm talking about. There is a kill in this show that actually like made me audibly scream, not scream, but like, oh shit! Like, we'll talk about it in spoilers. It's gruesome. Another villain in the show was Muse, who looks great, and I think they did a good job with him being scary. He was great in episode 6. That being said, though, they wasted him. And classic MCU, always wasting their fucking villains. I'm sick of it. I'm pretty sure we're never going to see Red Hulk again. I'm just so sick of them wasting villains. He, okay. He shows up in episode 4. He's introduced. He has an episode in episode, he has an episode, episode 6 is about him. Episode 7 concludes him. We'll talk about that in spoilers. Few more a few more things I want to talk about. This show, the way that this show ends, perfectly sets up Spider-Man Brand New Day. I think there's a lot, the ideas presented in this show near the end are really great laying grounds for Spider-Man, and I'll talk about it. And it's also another thing that I like what they did with this show was address cops. They so it's a thing in the show where we have these corrupt cops going around beating people up, being corrupt as shit, wearing Punisher's logo. An issue that has plagued real life too, and is why his logo had to be changed. Frank Castle is a character who goes against any authority and goes against the law and goes against any control and policing and whatever. That's who he is. And I'm glad that they touched upon this in the show. Like, it's a big point of the show too, that we have these cops walking around with the symbol not knowing what it means, because again, this is an issue that plagues real life too. There's people who, like, there's cops. I forgot the context. I think it was a school shooting, and I don't want to get too political here, but here I feel like I have to. And the cop, I think it was like where the cop was just standing around doing nothing on his phone, and he had a Punisher background. And I get it, like no, I don't get it. Oh, it's a skull, it's cool and whatnot, but it's perfectly like what it is, exactly what Punisher is criticizing. It's why his logo had to be changed in the comics, I believe. I'm glad they touched upon that. So yeah, Daredevil Born Again is a good show. It has some really weak moments, but I can only really expect this to get better going forward with the new team. The new team managed to take something that could have been bad, that could have been another mid MCU show, and turn it into something that is on par, not fully on par, but is climbing up to the Netflix show. So, Born Again gets a B. Now time for some spoilers. I got stuff to say. So, right off the bat, they killed Foggy. You kind of knew it was going to happen. It was a popular theory that it was going to happen. But I think it was done super well. I definitely felt a impact when it happened because of the Netflix show. You know, I really like Foggy as a character, and it is genuinely really sad to see him go. But it also plays into the issue of the Netflix cast, because like Karen leaves after this. She reappears in episode 9, and I mean, like, okay, Karen. That's like, you know what? They can bring her back. There's a theory that Foggy might be alive, but I think we just need to accept that he's dead. They killed Foggy. They killed Foggy. I'm curious. Maybe Secret Wars could do something. This is another thing that's funny about Daredevil. Will season 2 take place on Battleworld? I imagine not. I mean, I could imagine it taking place during the events of Doomsday. And it's I don't know where this show takes place. I just think that they're yeah like yeah like that's another question. How close is this to the events of Doomsday? We are rapidly approaching that with only like one more like 1999 movie, like 19999 movie, uh, before it takes place. My guess is that Thunderbolts is going to lead right into Doomsday because of like all the Thunderbolts returning in Doomsday. I imagine that that movie is going to set up like that event, and then Fantastic Four also happens like right into Doomsday. Like they get sucked from their universe, they're put into our universe, and they have to battle Doctor Doom. There's my theory. I'm curious on when this takes place yet. Um, but yeah, I'm just sad to see Augie go. Same with Hector. For sure, White Tiger setup from his niece, but it was sad to see him go. Um, I really liked the Hector Ayala stuff. I think White Tiger is a cool character. I really liked his costume in this show. And rest in peace to the actor. You know, it's sad that he passed away from I think brain cancer, and he did a great job. And another disappointing part of the show was Muse, like I mentioned. So they reveal that Muse was the client of Heather, and it was just way too fast. Like we barely knew him. We knew him as a guy who was like, "Hey, Heather, I read your book. I need help." And then we see him again. And then they just straight up reveal, "Yeah, this guy's Muse." And they just dumped all of his backstory, like he was in Kwon Do, something happened with his coach, he hated karate, he wanted to do art, and just like Daredevil comes in, Heather shoots him, Muse is dead. Like, wow, what a waste of a villain. But I do think that there is, um, I think there's a chance that he's gonna come back because he's on, apparently he's on set photos for season 2. Like people have seen him on the set for season 2, so there's a supernatural element I believe with Muse. He didn't have his power either, which I think is to absorb senses. But yeah, sadly this is just a case from the pre-overhaul stuff. Now, before we get into the ending, let's talk about the episode 5 cameo. Kamala Khan's dad. That was that was really interesting. I'm surprised that guy is still in the MCU, by the way. This was either filmed before or Disney just doesn't care about any of those fucking allegations. So, for those who don't know, Kamala Khan's dad, Yusuf Khan's actor, was has some like really serious like sexual assault allegations involving like a minor, and with Marvels, you could sort of like understand that it might have been filmed before, but when was this filmed? I'm pretty sure this was filmed after those allegations came out. And it's not like like if you cut the episode out, it's not like it's really not like you're gonna it's not like you're gonna take away from the story, because it was a filler episode. So I'm really curious what the decision was there. If I just don't think Disney cares, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, it was really interesting to hear Matt have a conversation about Kamala Khan. And yeah, God, this is another thing that I was kind of expecting from this show. Jennifer Walters to show up because like not in She-Hulk form, but I was expecting like a call from Jen Walters just like checking up on him because he's close with her now. I mean, God, the guy met fucking Hulk. You see, that's what's funny about the MCU. I was expecting some sort of She-Hulk mention. There's none of that, which is fine. I didn't like that show, but I do think Jen Walters should get another chance. So okay, let's talk about the ending. Kingpin's life is almost taken by Bullseye, and Matt steps in to stop this because he had a conversation with Dex earlier about saving your worst enemy. And oh, by the way, the Dex prison breakout was great. He uses his tooth to escape. Genuinely love what they do there. So Kingpin wants to kill Matt. He takes off the power. Matt and Punisher team up and fight the task force. And this fight scene was really cool. Punisher just comes in gunning these dirty cops. They're too bitching and arguing about their methods. I mean, like, you've probably seen the rooftop scene from the show. I mean, I have. I mean, everyone has. But this is like the kind of stuff that it's like, yeah, this is Daredevil and Punisher. You know what? I'll tell you what I think, Red. I'll tell you what I think. Oh yeah, by the way, Kingpin says, when I was a boy. Let me fucking get up and do it. When I was a boy. I'm gonna sit down. Oh. So yeah. So yeah, Punisher gets captured by the task force, and Punisher is like, he's telling everyone, "Oh, you're all fucking clowns, man. You don't know what this symbol means. I hate all of you. You guys are so stupid." Loved seeing that, you know. And it's intercut with Kingpin in this Commissioner character. Now, oh, this was another character I forgot to mention. BB Urich. Okay, like Ben Urich's niece. Yeah. So like, there's this character called Commissioner Gallo who is like very against Kingpin. He's very against like the task force and all that. So what does he do? So what does he get in return for this? He gets probably the most gruesome fucking kill in the entire MCU up to this point. Kingpin crushes his head, like fucking rips his jaw off, and the effect is great. Like these are like some like actual like horror movie level like effects, like shit you'd expect from Terrifier, honestly. And it's brutal. And like this is a contrast from like something like a Netflix show where it's kind of like the same concept with Kingpin slamming the guy's head in with the car door, but now we see it, and it's so genuinely really disturbing, and just like, oh god, I don't like. This is on Disney and in the MCU. Like, what the fuck? Great stuff. I feel bad. He was a good man. So this anti-vigilante task force, full effect now, and no more vigilantes are allowed in New York, and they will be taken care of. And this makes me really curious to see where this goes for because of all the vigilantes in New York. And this sort of poses a new issue about it, where there's not really that many vigilantes. I mean, you have Hawkeye. I think he's a vigilante now. I mean, you definitely do have these vigilantes on the street. I mean, Moon Knight. Fucking hell, I wanted Moon Knight to show up, but if I remember correctly, he doesn't have Khonshu's power unless it's Jake now. But man, seeing Moon Knight in this style of show would have been so awesome. But I'm very curious to see if this is going to affect Spider-Man at all. A lot of people are joking about it. Where's Spider-Man during all of this? And you know, that's a question that I do want answered, but we're probably not going to get answers in this show because of how Sony just is with Spider-Man. But I'm definitely curious to see if they are going to do something about it. This is such perfect setup for a brand new day. I mean, like, anti-vigilante task force. Spider-Man is a vigilante who has no connections with the Avengers now. Wait, no. Peter Parker doesn't. Spider-Man would have still been with the Avengers. My bad. I forgot that. Because, like Doctor Strange would have remembered him helping out Spider-Man, but, like, he wouldn't remember that it was Peter Parker. Which, I'm excited to see all that dealt with in Spider-Man Brand New Day. And I'm very curious to see how this anti-vigilante task force is going to be. Ooh, this just came to mind. Taskmaster, maybe? Like Tony Masters? We all know she's fucking dying in Thunderbolts. They're going to kill her right off. I think if they... I'm just saying this because it has the word task in it. Bring in Taskmaster, that'd be cool. Or you know what? No, this is perfect for Silver Sable. There's casting for like a 50-year-old or like an older age middle-aged woman. That'd be great for Silver Sable. But Kingpin is prime for being a villain in Spider-Man 4. Maybe he could get like Scorpion or Vulture or like revisit some of those fucking ideas you set up all the way back then and just never used. You know? I'm very curious to see how Spider-Man addresses it. And another thing that Daredevil kind of set up was they're going to be putting together a team. Now, a lot of people, myself included, was expecting it to be the Defenders. And I still think it's going to be the Defenders. I think Defenders are going to come in season 2. But, like, come on, man. Like, Cherry and his lawyer friend, like, really? That's the team you're going to do against Kingpin? Like, that guy just crushed a guy's head in like a fucking watermelon. Why not get, like, I don't know, fucking Ghost Rider? If he's in the, I think, you know what? I think he is in the MCU because of Agents of Shield. That was a Netflix show, right? I don't fucking know. But yeah. Oh, so right before Gallo gets fucking murdered, there's a scene where he's in the car, and he got this episode's 41 minutes. Um, there's an episode where he's in the car, sitting by and this guy comes in, sits down, is like, "Hey, you're not the guy I thought it was." "Oh, hey, Luke." Here's what makes this worse: the way they filmed it was by showing his eyes in the mirror, and it's a black man, a black bald man. Guys, you're gonna give us a black bald guy, shoot him in that way, film him in that way, and not expect us to react like Luke Cage? He lifts up his neck, showing it the Punisher logo, and it's like, oh, it's just one of Fisk's. Like, come on, man. What the hell? It's such a stupid way to film it. So there's a post credits as well. Punisher is what the fuck are you telling me, Zach? Punisher is breaking out of jail. That's setting up his special. And I'm just excited for season 2. I'm satisfied with the show. Now, my next review, probably Thunderbolts. I'm not too sure. Maybe Flow. Finally get that out, but... Well, until then... When I was a boy, I made videos on YouTube.